Good evening, ladies
Yes.
and gentlemen. Thanks for watching the Brand New Media Show today. After my talk show with diabetes with Dr. HIRAMALINI SESHADRI, I got so many inquiries on that topic. So Dr. HIRAMALINI SESHADRI agreed to do a Zoom chat so she can give the viewers more time on understanding this topic. So I want to thank her, and I'm going to give her all the time in the world she needs to make sure the viewers understand the importance of this Living Healthy series. Welcome to the show, Dr. HIRAMALINI SESHADRI.
Thank you, Brenda. Nice to be back with you again on Zoom.
Thank you. And we're going to go right into it. First of all, we want to make sure the viewers understand what is diabetes.
Okay. Now, when we say diabetes, what we generally understand is that the blood sugar levels are high, right?
Right.
Now, blood sugar is very important. Glucose is the fuel for the body. Our brain and heart can't live without it. So we have plenty of hormones to see that blood sugar is up. You see, there's glucagon and all the hormones and adrenaline, noradrenaline, thyroxine, everything pushes up blood sugar because it's so essential. There's only one to reduce it, and that's insulin. Okay, so what keeps blood sugar in balance is how much of carbs that you take, because that's the source of the blood sugar usually, and how much of these hormones are in the circulation. Now, in type 1 diabetes, which affects only about 5% of the people, it's due to a deficiency of insulin. Okay, but 95% of the diabetics, they have plenty of insulin circulating. In fact, they have too much, I would say. But for some reason, the insulin doesn't work. They seem to have what we call insulin resistance. And that's why their blood sugars are high. And this is what affects 95% of diabetics. This is called type 2 diabetes. Okay, so since it's so common, I think we'll talk more about that today. Is that okay?
Okay, that's fine. So we're going to focus more with type 2 diabetes.
Right. So, I mean, what are the numbers you need to be aware of, right?
Right.
Like when you check your blood sugar, suppose you go and give a fasting blood sugar test, and 100 is an easy enough number to remember. If your blood sugar is normal, it should be 100 or less. But if it's over 125 fasting blood sugar, then that suggests diabetes. And if it's between 120 and 125, these fence sitters, they're called pre-diabetics. Okay? Now there's another test where they make you drink a sugary solution. It's called the glucose tolerance test. Okay? And there, at 2 hours, if your blood sugar is above 200, that's diabetic. Okay? But if it's within 140, that's okay, normal. What about the fence sitters? The ones whose sugars are between 140 to 199, okay, at 2 hours after the sugary solution. They again qualify to be pre-diabetic. And then there's yet another test. And why was this test used? See, the first two tests, the fasting blood sugar and the 2 hour after taking a glucose solution, they give you the sugar level at that point in time. Now, this third test is a measure of your average blood sugar over 3 months. Okay? And that is called, it's got a fancy name, glycosylated hemoglobin, or HB1AC. Okay? And this one, they say normal should be 5.6 or so. How do you remember that? Say 5, 6 pickup sticks. Okay.
5, 6 pickup stick.
Yeah. And if it's just the reverse, if it's above 6.5, then you could be in for diabetes. Okay.
Okay.
Now, what about the in-betweens? 5.6 to 6.5? Again, they qualify to be pre-diabetic. Okay. So these are the blood sugar numbers that it's good to know. And why should we know? Because it's so common. See, diabetes has come into focus now again because of COVID. Okay, we all know that those who are diabetic are getting it much more, suffering much more, and being dispatched to the next world much more. Okay.
Okay.
So it's brought diabetes into the limelight, and now we'll talk about the numbers of diabetics that's going through the roof. See, there was a time, say in the 1960s, America had only about 3% of the population or less as diabetics. And that's the same percentage in Africa now. If you just take the average African population, just about 3% or less are diabetics. But the same Africans, who are living in America, what we call the African American, okay?
Right.
Today, 18-20% or more could be diabetic. Okay, that's quite such a difference. The same genes, mind you. And if you look at the Caucasian Americans, from say 3% in the 60s, it's now about 12%, 10-12%, and increasing. So why this change? Okay, one readily observable feature is this: the average American weighed about 160 pounds, maybe in the 60s. Today, that average weight is 200 pounds. Same for the Caucasian, same for the African American. Okay? Whereas in Africa, the average weight, even today for the adults, is about 135 pounds. Okay? So in other words, this weight gain seems to be definitely linked to diabetes. Okay, and especially in America. Okay. All right. So weight gain. And why this weight gain? Obviously, it's related to the food you're eating.
Exactly. Right? That's what it's because of the food that's intaken in our body. Is that right? Okay.
Right. And the more high tech we get, the more fast food, the more the industry kind of food comes in, where profit is the bottom line. That's the most important thing. So these kind of foods tend to be rich in calories, rich in maybe the wrong kind of fats, and to go with the food, you have the beverage as well. What is known as SSD, sugar sweetened beverages. Everything that comes in a can, bottle, etc. Tasty stuff. All that makes you put on weight. And the fatter you are, the insulin resistance factor, the higher it is. So you see how it's all linked up. Okay?
Right.
And it's not just in America. It's not as if America is an island with diabetes. All over the world, diabetes is going through the roof. In fact, India has the dubious distinction of almost being the diabetic capital of the world. In China, for instance, they say that before 1987, that is before all these fast foods entered that country, their prevalence of diabetes is very low, something like maybe 1 to 3%. Today, they've also shot up to 12% and going higher.
Okay. Dr. Seshadri.
Because now all the fast food outlets are there. Yes.
Let me ask you, what symptoms? We might have viewers out there and they want to know what type of symptoms would we have if we're diabetic? Okay.
So now the first thing to know is that while we're on the subject of numbers, pre-diabetes is so rampant in America. 1/3 of the country, 1/3 of American adults are pre-diabetic. And why is pre-diabetes so important? Because in 5 years' time, more than half of them turn diabetic.
Okay. Mhm.
And not just that, even if they stay at the pre-diabetes level, they have much more of strokes and heart attacks. It's almost as bad as being a diabetic. Okay. And coming to your question now about symptoms, a third of the population, mind you, has pre-diabetes, and 95% of them have no symptoms. Okay, that's pretty dicey, isn't it? But you
Mhm.
could have some clues.
Okay.
For example, if your dad or mom, sister, grandpa, uncle, aunt, somebody's diabetic in the family, if it's there, because there's some amount of genetic, there's a genetic component to the cause of diabetes, then the chances are you could get it. So if there's someone in the family, you ought to be on guard.
Mhm.
If you're the older you are, if you're 45 plus, yes. If you're 65 plus, definitely you should, include that as part of your checkup, right? Then if you're overweight, as I told you, weight is very important. Now, if you have that, lot of tummy fat, waist fat, then you're have a far greater chance of being diabetic.
So we
Or
need
if
to start watching out. We need to start watching out for our waist size.
absolutely,
That has a
absolutely.
lot to do with the sign.
Yeah, if you're like a 40-inch waist, then you better, do something about it. So that's different. And if you've had a high cholesterol, so many checkups you go for, even for insurance, they check your blood cholesterol. If your cholesterol is high, bad cholesterol is high, again, you could be a candidate for diabetes. Okay, and if you get sores that don't heal, you keep getting recurrent infections, could be a pointer. Or if you're a woman and you've had big babies, 10 pounders, 9-pounder baby,
Mhm.
you say that you could be diabetic.
Okay.
Another pointer, if you've had PCOD, polycystic ovarian disease, okay, that has a link with pre-diabetes. Or if you have these, dark patches, velvety dark patches of skin on, your elbows, shoulders, neck. It's got a fancy name, acanthosis nigricans. If you
Mhm.
have these patches, then go check up with the doctor. So there are some clues, but no real symptoms. But
Okay.
when it comes to, this is for pre-diabetes. But if you're diabetic, you could have symptoms. Here again, mind you, only about half of them have symptoms. Half of them have the disease, but no symptoms. But what are these symptoms? You could be very hungry, or you could be
Oh.
very thirsty, passing a lot of urine, especially at night. You keep
Uh-huh.
going to the toilet. Or you could feel just weak, fatigued. You could even lose weight, if the blood sugar is high and a lot of sugar is going down the urine, you could lose weight rapidly. And you can feel sometimes tingling and numbness in the hands, or you could have vision problems. Okay, so these are just some of the symptoms. Or you feel woozy, wobbly, you just don't feel okay. All right,
Okay.
it's rather vague symptoms, but yes, these could be pointers that you could be going in for diabetes.
Okay.
Right?
So at this time, we can reverse it. Is that right?
Yes. Now, if you look for the definitions of diabetes, you will find that it's listed as a chronic progressive condition. It doesn't make you feel good. But, and I can state it so, it can be a reversible condition, and that's good news, okay, for type 2 diabetes. And I dare to say our own personal experience and our experience of my experience with my patients over the past 20, 25 years.
Mhm.
But having said that, a lot of doctors in America as well, who follow the kind of method that we've been using to manage diabetes, they also agree. Okay, I will come to that shortly. Right?
Okay.
Okay. Now, some people ask me, even if there's no symptoms, why should I worry about diabetes? I mean, let the sugar be high. After all, it's something that the body needs.
Mhm.
The trouble is, much more strokes, vision problems. You can lose your vision too, heart attacks, okay, nerve problems. And you've heard of people going in for amputations, you know, you have their toes chopped and their feet chopped, and yeah, all this is much, much more in diabetes. And just imagine, you know, once you declare diabetes, you're always living, you know, worried about your blood sugar, you know, all the, and checking it, and you know, so many needle pricks, and life isn't fun anymore, right?
Right.
So it's definitely worth preventing it. Definitely doing everything in your power to try and reverse it. If, God forbid, but you know, if you're pre-diabetic or diagnosed to have diabetes, right?
Right.
Okay. Now, I mentioned that our family had our own brush with diabetes, type 2 diabetes, okay? Would you like me to share our story?
Share that story.
Okay. So this was in the early 1990s. Now my husband, Dr. Seshadri, you know, he's also a doctor. In fact, one of India's top shot psychiatrists, okay? Now, in the early 1990s, he was beginning to lose weight, you see? And we were rather worried. We were worried that it might be, you know, the big C, CA and CPR. And so when the checkup showed that it was only diabetes, we were like celebrating, okay? But then his sugar was quite high. Now, we have doctors called diabetologists in India who treat only diabetes. And, you know, evidence-based medicine is what modern medicine generally follows. And at that point in time, the evidence was that you had to control diabetes tight blood sugar control. Now, which means you're going to have to take a lot of medication, etc. I didn't want that. Now, why was that? Because I was a physician and I was seeing the flip side of the coin, you see. Because of this tight blood sugar control, almost every other day I would find some diabetic walking into my outpatient feeling tired, woozy or wobbly, or sometimes passing out, even in coma, right? Because of low blood sugar. And low blood sugar, of course, high blood sugar is bad because in the long run it can push you into strokes and heart attacks, etc. But low blood sugar can tip you immediately into a heart attack or a stroke. And I didn't want Seshadri to run the risk of a low blood sugar. So I did something which I don't recommend that anybody does. I decided to treat my own spouse. Okay.
Okay.
Now, let me also put in another disclaimer at this point in time. To all the viewers who are watching this conversation, if you are diabetic, you know, after watching this Zoom conversation,
yes,
you feel like, oh, I need to change something, don't jump the gun. Okay, you have to go back to your doctor, discuss it with her or him, and only then make the change. Okay? Now to get back to our story. So I decided that, you know, I would treat him. So naturally, the first thing we looked at was diet. Now we were already vegetarian, but maybe eating too much of carbs. So made some adjustments there. And maybe we were eating the wrong kind of fats. See? Okay. So adjusted that and some more exercise. Of course, mental attitude was very positive. So that was fine. And at that point in time, Providence sent a friend into our home. And he introduced us, mind you, it is not a doctor, to the concept of micronutrients, nutritional supplements. Okay. Now, in medical college, in America and in India and everywhere else, very little is taught about nutrition and nothing at all about nutritional supplements in our, you know, undergraduate training or postgraduate training. So, but I had the wisdom to, you know, to have an open mind, and I read up, and I found that it sounded promising and no side effects, and certainly no risk of low sugar and micronutrients. That was what it was all about. So I thought, why not try it for 6 months? Nothing to lose. And God, we decided on that. We've never really looked back. And today, he's fine. His sugars are fine. The just minimum medicines. And, you know, he had a little spot in the eye in the retina when we started out, that's reversed. He had a little bit of protein in the urine, that's reversed. So for us, it's turned out right. The diabetes has reversed. And this is so, as we will see later in the talk, that many American physicians have come to the same conclusion today. Okay?
So there is scientific evidence that it is reversible.
Yeah, it reverse.
If you do the right thing.
Right. And the secret seems to be this. You remember the old Goldilocks story where the porridge had to be just right? It should, you know, it shouldn't be too hot, not too cold, but just right, right? Same way, the control of blood sugar. Sugar should not be too high, but neither should it be too low. It has to be just right. And today, my hunch, you know, which I had in the early 90s, has been vindicated. Now, in the past few years, there have been plenty of studies. First one was from the UK. They followed about 48,000 plus patients. And they found that, you know, tight blood sugar control was not really the best. Those people had more mortality. Neither was, you know, loose sugar control good. In fact, according to their reports, and this was in the Lancet, it's a very famous journal.
Okay.
They say HB1AC of 7.7 is fine. Now, some doctors will faint when they hear that. But we have a lot of studies from the US too, American studies, which also say the same. But in America, they don't say one size fits all. There's no one single magic value of HB1AC. They say you have to individualize it patient to patient. The older the patient generally, you know, we don't need so much tight blood sugar control, because by then generally they have already started having narrowing of blood vessels. So then if you suddenly lower it, you could push them into trouble. So for a younger person, maybe you can have slightly tighter control. So it's highly individualized. In other words, see how medicine is changing. The evidence is also changing. That happens all the time in medicine. Okay.
Okay.
Now, how did the supplements work? Now, this is a question people ask me. How do supplements work? I'll give you an analogy. Now, you have an infection, and then you have a fever because of the infection. So you don't just take Tylenol for the fever. You take an antibiotic, you take something for the infection too, right?
Right.
Same way, in type 2 diabetes, you have insulin resistance, and that is what pushes up your blood sugar. So it's not enough if you just take some medicines to lower the blood sugar. You have to do something about the insulin resistance. And that was what?
That's the key, right? That's the key.
That was what the food supplements were doing. Okay? We didn't have that much information in the 90s, but today there's lots of information. Okay? And maybe I should share some of that information with you. Okay? Now, we have at least about 9 classes of micronutrients. When I say micronutrients, it means we need just teensy-weensy little bits of in terms of amount. Okay. Macronutrients would be like, say, like protein, carbohydrate, fats, where you need large amounts. So these micronutrients, there are about 9 classes. Okay, and there's enough evidence today to show that they're useful. Okay, I shall send a list of it to Brenda so that she can.
Yes, I have and these are scientific evidence that it works.
Yes. Yeah, right. Okay, so let's start with, say, protein. I had put my husband on very good soy protein, non-GMO soy protein. And along with that, he was getting genistein as part of it. Now, genistein is something that does wonders for type 2 diabetes. It helps in blood sugar control, reduces insulin resistance, helps the pancreas put out more insulin. Okay, it's very useful. Now, when it comes to fats, omega-3 fatty acids. Okay, this is very, very useful. And that is there as one of the supplements. Again, reduces insulin resistance, helps reduce body weight, good for the brain, good for the eyes, good for the heart. Excellent supplement. Then you have another kind of fat called alpha lipoic acid, ALA. This again helps in reducing insulin resistance, reducing inflammation, which is what leads to all the complications. A lot of good stuff. So proteins, fats, then carbohydrates. Now there's a group of a whole lot of foods called fiber or prebiotics. What happens is we take them and we don't digest it and absorb it into our system. But this is excellent food for our live-in neighbors, our allies, our live-in buddies. And who are they? These are the bacteria that live in our gut. You know, we're finding out today a lot about ourselves. We're finding out that we human beings actually have more bacterial and non-human cells in our body than human cells, and we need them. It's like we are a minor planet ourselves. Okay? So when we take this fiber, or what we call prebiotics, it's not digested, but it's excellent food for these bacteria. And they make wonderful things out of it, like short-chain fatty acids, which is good for insulin resistance. Okay, they help increase the adiponectin. Adipose refers to fat tissue. Nectin is destruction. So they help get rid of fat tissue, so lose weight. Okay. So in many ways, fiber, which is prebiotic, is useful. Probiotic refers to the bacteria itself. We get it from yogurt in our country. There are many sources of probiotics. We'll see about that. Then, of course, we have all the vitamins. All the vitamins are important, but extremely important is vitamin D. There is a vitamin D3 deficiency all across the globe. And particularly among African Americans, there's rampant deficiency. And just correcting the vitamin D3 deficiency can do wonders for your diabetes control. Okay? So vitamin D, then vitamin C and vitamin E. They work together synergistically. They're very powerful antioxidants. Right. Oh, good. You're holding it up for me to read as well. And then you have the antioxidants. Now, this is a magical group. Okay. Lots of fancy names here. Anthocyanins, that refers to colors. Okay. Nowadays, they say color your plate. Like, if you have different vegetables of different colors, they're all very good to help your blood sugar control. Catechins, that's then cocoa. That's why dark chocolate, we can recommend that as dessert for diabetics. Then there's something called quercetin, hesperidin, isothiocyanates, flavonoids. I mean, I won't go to town on this, but do your Google search, do your homework, and then if you're convinced, go talk to your doctor about it. Lutein is there in all the carrots, all the yellow and orange vegetables. Lycopene is there in tomato, very good for the heart, and therefore very good for diabetics. So these antioxidant group, flavonoids are there in lemon. They reduce insulin resistance. They are good for the heart. They prevent stroke. They're good for the eyes. So go all out and include antioxidants in your diet, right? Then we come to something called berberine. Okay. Now, berberine is there in common garden turmeric, right? So in India, we use a lot of turmeric in cooking, and I would recommend that you start using it too, turmeric, because it contains berberine, which is very good for diabetes. Now,
HIRAMALINI, I put that in my tea. I put that in my green tea every morning.
Oh, great. Okay, I should try that too. Resveratrol. Now, resveratrol has become famous because the wine lobby is supporting it, because it's there in red wine. But let me hasten to add, it's also there in peanuts. Okay, my husband was quite happy to eat a handful of peanuts. He loves peanuts. Okay, now some of my patients ask me, doctor, if these supplements are so good, how come everyone's not talking about it? How come all doctors are not recommending it? See, in medicine, change is always slow, unless it's all backed up by big pharma. Okay? And to be backed up by big pharma, there needs to be money, the bottom line. Okay? Now, there's no money to be made in turmeric, okay, vegetables, carrots, greens, you know. So there's not much of big pharma interest, right?
Right.
And therefore, you find information about nutritional supplements in medical textbooks or in, you know, the great medical association reports, recommendations, and so on. But those of us who use them, those who are interested in nutritional research, we vouch for it. Okay, so you have to go by your own, as I said, do your own homework. And if you're convinced, try it out yourself. I can tell you this much, you can't come to any harm, and it can certainly help you. At least these 9 classes of compounds. All right, so that's all about micronutrition. Okay. Now, Brenda, shall I tell you about macronutrition? That is, what we can eat in bigger amounts.
Educate us on that.
Yeah. Now, macronutrition is, okay, like the proteins, carbs, and all that, where do we get them from? How and what are the changes to be done? I want you to remember, it says, God bless you and me. Okay. Now, so we start with G for God, right? So G would be greens and have 2 more additions, ginger and garlic. Okay, greens, ginger and garlic. And at this point, let me add, greens would be everything. Your spinach, asparagus, lettuce, cabbage, all this whole lot. And ginger and garlic. And let me suggest a recipe at the same breath. If you get lentils cook easily. You can add, spinach, you can get frozen spinach, add that. And add ginger garlic paste. Now, where will you get ginger garlic paste? All Indian stores have it. Okay?
Yes.
So a spoon of ginger garlic paste, a little salt to taste. It's really delicious. You can have it with rice, you can have it with breads. Okay, yeah, you can have it with Indian breads or brown bread, pita bread, anything. So that's one. So G for greens, ginger, garlic. And both ginger and garlic are very good for type 2 diabetes. There's enough studies done on it and enough publications in proper medical journals. Okay. Then O would be for onions, oatmeal, and olive oil. Onions are rich in chromium, which is a mineral, a very important mineral for diabetes control. I forgot to mention minerals along with the micronutrients. You have to remember chromium, selenium, magnesium, not just the calcium and iron that we usually talk of. Okay? So onions are rich in chromium, and onions help in insulin resistance. Oatmeal, my favorite. That's what I have for breakfast. Rich
I love
fiber,
oatmeal.
Okay, nice amount of protein, minerals, and you feel quite nice and full. Okay, so oatmeal, again, good for type 2 diabetes. Olive oil, you get your omega-3 fatty acids there. Okay. And the Mediterranean diet, you must have heard of that.
Yes.
Which they recommend for hypertension, for diabetes, for weight loss, for good health, for everything. They use a lot of olive oil for the salads, right? So G-O-D. Now D is for drumstick, not the chicken wing drumstick.
I was going to say, explain that, because people will think it's chicken drumsticks.
Okay, it's actually, in India we call it drumstick. I think there you call it the horseradish tree. So its leaves are sheer magic, good for the brain, eyes, and in diabetes, it can affect the liver, and you can have something what is known as non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. The leaves help in that as well. They also help delay the kidney problems of diabetes. Helps in insulin resistance. In fact, it's known as the miracle tree. And I'm told it can be grown in America, at least in the southern states. So that's homework for you.
Okay.
Its fancy name is is Moringa oleifera.
Okay.
Moringa, Moringa. So look up Moringa, and its leaves are really good, and so are the seeds. We cook a lot of Moringa, in our traditional Indian cuisine, right? So God, and now God bless you. So B for beans, berries, and bananas. Beans, all colors, black beans, red beans, green beans.
I love bananas. I eat 2 bananas every day, one in the morning and one at night.
Good. Talking of bananas, there was a time when people thought, oh, isn't it full of starch? Can diabetics take it? But today they say yes, because it is rich in fiber as well and good minerals. And it's not, and it's the sugar is not absorbed too fast. So 1 banana a day is fine. One medium or small or average size banana a day is perfect. And berries, all blueberries, cranberries, strawberries. Remember, colors, anthocyanins, they're very good.
Okay.
So that's again good for diabetes. Okay. So yeah. Now BLE. LE is lemon, my favorite. Okay, flavonoids and vitamin C, very good for immunity. Very good. So you should be, especially in these COVID times, make sure that you take lemon, not just the juice of it, the rind. The rind is very good. Okay.
So we need to eat the rind too. We need to eat the whole lemon.
Yes.
Want to make sure people understand that. Eat the whole lemon.
Slice it. You can slice it and put it in as part of your sandwich. You can make sandwiches. We do that at home.
Okay.
And then BLES, seeds and sprouts. Okay. All seeds, pumpkin seeds, watermelon seeds, and all the nuts. They're all after all seeds, as well as sprouts.
Let's make sure they instead of spitting the watermelon seed, they need to swallow the watermelon seed. Is that right? Yeah.
And sprouts, remember, sprouts are very good. Okay. And sprouts nowadays are available in most supermarkets. Okay. Then there's another wonderful food, which people, when they hear the name, they think, oh, diabetics should not eat it. Sweet potato. You hear sweet and you think, oh, it's not for diabetes. Actually, it's a very good food for diabetes.
I love sweet potatoes.
Yes. Just steam it, and it can be a good snack. You can put a slice of it in between your sandwich. Okay. You can even
I put mine in the oven. I bake it. Yeah. I bake my sweet potato.
Yeah. In fact, even its leaves are very good.
The potato leaves? I've never tried that.
Yes.
I've never tried potato leaves.
Very rich in antioxidants. Okay, so try chopping up sweet potato leaf. First of all, grow it in your own garden and use it.
I want to try that. I want to grow some potato leaves. I want to try that.
Yes. So God bless GODBLESSU. Why? As in yogurt and yacon tuber. Now, yogurt is something I heartily recommend because it contains this good bacteria called lactobacilli, and we can make it at home. Okay, you just get some Greek yogurt, which is just pure yogurt, and full cream milk, and you add a little bit of the yogurt into it. Keep it in a warm temperature for about 5-6 hours, and there your yogurt is ready.
I never tried that, but I want to try to make my own yogurt. I'm going to do that.
Regularly at home, and yogurt. Along with your beans, along with your rice, it goes with everything. Okay? And bananas, so, yogurt, great combination.
What about the flavor? What about the flavor yogurt? That's not really.
No, don't buy this ready. See, in general, anything that's packed, bottled, processed, stay out of it. Make your own.
Make your own. Do the plain yogurt.
Yes.
Okay.
And make cooking your own hobby, you see. Gardening and cooking. Grow your own food, make your own food.
I'm going to do that. I'm going to have my own garden. That's right. I'm going to do that.
I heartily support that. Okay. Fine. So, and yacon tuber. Now, yacon is something that grows in South America, in the Andes.
Yes, because right? Know about this. So I'm quite sure other people not well educated about this. So this
Right.
is what that is. Explain what this is.
Yeah. Yacon, the yacon tuber, you can steam it and you can have it. The good news is you really feel nice and full. This feeling of fullness is important. I might digress a bit at this point in time. See, when a diabetic is diagnosed first, what does the doctor do? Generally, will put him on a diet. Okay. And in America, I'm told that they are put on usually put on the diet recommended by the American Diabetes Association. Fair enough. Now, this diet is apparently a reflection of the SAD diet. Now, what is SAD diet? SAD, Standard American Diet. So the diet again has meat, it has eggs, it has fish, it has vegetables, and they recommend more whole grains, fruit, fiber, etc. But they will make the portions much lesser, much smaller.
Okay.
So what, and plus you're on some medication or the other, because the general policy is diet control. So then what happens, because your portions are less, you don't feel full. And because of the medicines, your sugars go down and you feel hungry. So you don't feel full, you're hungry and you can't eat, you're stressed out. So when you're stressed out, what happens? All the stress hormones come out and they push up your blood sugar. So by the time you go for your review, your sugars are high again. And then your doctor says, oh, I think I might have to increase your medicine. It becomes a vicious cycle. So if you have something like a yacon tuber to eat, you feel nice and full, but at the same time, the starch in the yacon tuber is not absorbed. And it's wonderful food for your living buddies, the bacteria.
Okay. It looks like a sweet potato. It looks just like a sweet potato.
And therefore, you get, and the bacteria make all these wonderful things like short chain fatty acids, blah, 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 which help you in reducing your insulin resistance, reduce inflammation, good for your heart, good for your brain, and so on. And not just that, from yacon tuber, they also get a sweetener, okay? And a natural sweetener, which also reduces insulin resistance.
I want to try this. I have to do some research. I want to try this.
Try to grow it, you know. I think, you know, if you have to learn to be a little adventurous. Grow your own vegetables, cook your own food, okay? Right. So let God bless you and me. So you vie for yogurt in yacon tuber and be apples and avocado. One apple a day definitely will help you. If you eat granny split, then it's not so sweet also. Lot of fiber, lot of good minerals in it, lot of vitamins, good food. Avocado has good fats. It will help increase your good fats and bring down your bad fats, as well as help you lose weight because it promotes adiponectin. And so instead of butter and margarine, use avocado for your sandwiches. Okay?
So you can substitute butter and use avocado.
Right.
Leave butter alone.
And you and me. M would be mushrooms. Nowadays you can get sliced mushrooms, packets of mushrooms. Mushrooms again rich in fiber, no calories virtually, so quite filling and nice. Okay. Fine. Now there's one group of symptoms, Brenda. I don't know whether you want me to go through it. The symptoms of low sugar, like if you're on.
Yes, we probably have about what, 10 minutes? Yes, let's go through it.
Low sugar also, you know, you need to be worried about, because as I said, low sugar could tip you into a lot of trouble. So what are the symptoms? Feel very weak. If you feel tired, you know, your hands are shaky, tremor, you feel palpitation, you're sweating, okay, woozy, wobbly, you know, fits, you have to report back to your doctor. Or if you get up in the morning with a splitting headache and you don't know why, and you find that your night dress is all drenched in sweat, that could be because of low sugar. Okay. And here I must make a point about alcohol. Okay. People tend to drink at night. Yes. And alcohol has a habit of causing hypoglycemia, that is low sugar, a couple of hours after the drink. We won't go into the technicalities. So if you take, alcohol, and then you're not yourself. You're a new person. If you take one too many.
One glass of red wine is good for you, right? One
Take
glass
it with
of red
lunch
wine.
so that you're not, you're awake after that. Okay.
Right.
Don't
Yeah.
take it at night. If you take alcohol at night, and it's not just one glass, because one glass makes you a new person, and then the new person wants another drink. Okay. Huh? And then what happens, and then you end up with this low sugar, because you're not quite yourself. You may not even register even the symptoms like sweating may not register. So you really run the risk of a heart problem, a stroke, etc. Okay. So alcohol is, if you're consuming alcohol, then you check out with the doctor, can I, and how much, and when, etc., etc.
Okay.
Smoking, of course, is absolutely a no-no, because that can push you into type 2 diabetes. Okay. Huh?
Okay.
So that much for smoking and alcohol and low sugar. Now,
what is this about Dr. Furman? He has a special program, right? Dr.
Right.
Furman?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Because now what I've told
Harnish,
you is,
Dr. Harnish.
I've told you something about diet and things that you could include. But practically in the US, what can you do? Now, who are the doctors who are sort of, on the same wavelength as I am? You could go on and register with the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. Okay. They are headed by Neil Barnett, and they swear that they can reverse type 2 diabetes. There are 9,000 doctors on it, and more than 100,000 ordinary people. So, and it's a non-profit organization. So register for it and find out about the diet they have an offer.
Okay.
If you want a personalized service, as you mentioned, Dr. Joel Furman, he's the author of Eat to Live. Okay, not live to eat. Okay, huh? And he also, I like his approach, because like us, he believes in nutritional supplements as well. And the diet is, I won't call it an easy diet. It's a vegan diet, but I tell you, if you can get out of insulin injections and having to chase your blood sugar all through life, and and if you can be healthy and well, it's worth changing your diet. Okay, they have a personalized service. So Dr. Joel Furman, Google it and get onto that program. Or so there's Dr. Ornish. If you want, at least to have eggs, you can have white of egg. You'll be allowed milk products, yogurt. Go for the Ornish diet. So do your homework. All these therapies are clubbed as medical nutrition therapy. Okay? MNT. And today, even the American Diabetes Association accepts that medical nutrition therapy is most important, more important than drugs in the management of type 2 diabetes. Okay.
Okay.
So tell me, Brenda, okay, should we go through, can diabetics have any dessert? Should we go through that list?
Well, we can make it quick, because we probably have about 8 minutes.
Okay. Now, they say, oh, can I eat any dessert at all? Yes. What can you eat? You can go in for dark chocolate. Okay. Good for diabetics.
Okay.
Dark chocolate every night. You can have apple pie. You can have sweet potato pie. You can have chocolate cake, but you use peanut butter for it, and you use Yukon, the sweetener from Yukon. The other sweeteners you can use monk fruit sweetener, stevia. These are the natural sweeteners. Okay. The artificial ones are also okay, because you use small amounts. Okay. Larger amounts can be carcinogenic, etc., etc. But if you can get the natural ones. They're always preferable to artificial sweeteners. So definitely apple. You can have desserts. Can you snack? Yes. Popcorn. Okay. Chickpeas. All right.
Okay.
Soak them overnight.
Okay.
And steam them. This holds good for all the beans.
Okay.
Black beans, brown beans. Soak them and then steam them. Okay. And then a dash of pepper, ginger garlic paste if you want. Okay. And a little bit of cheese. You can use cottage cheese. or mozzarella cheese, and you can make a tasty snack out of it, right?
Okay.
And did I mention
go over the exercise real quick?
Yes. Exercise, the more you move, the better.
Okay.
But I would say the happier your moves are, the better. So I vote for dancing, okay? Because you can play music and dance at home, right? Dancing, very good. And so gardening.
Stop being a couch potato. Stop being a couch potato.
Yes. And
you're
gardening.
not circulating that blood just by sitting down.
Because you see, you find that diabetes is rampant in the lower socioeconomic groups. And lower socioeconomic groups in the US, whether it's black or whether it's white, they find access to all these foods difficult. So I say, forget the access, grow your own. Grow your own. Grow your own greens, your sweet potato.
I'm going to do that.
Okay. So gardening, and it gives you so much joy to see something growing.
Yes. Yes.
And gives you exercise as well. All right. Then your mind is very important. You have to get rid of negatives and put in positives. Getting rid of negatives, one of the best ways is simple meditation. Now, what's meditation? Nothing. Just put the blinds down, close your eyes, breathe slowly. Breathe slowly in, breathe slowly out. Because what Indians knew thousands of years ago and what science has found now is that you can't control your thoughts, voluntarily, but if you breathe slowly, the thoughts settle and your mind relaxes. Okay? Now, we can't control our heartbeat so much, but we have some control over our breathing, right?
Right.
So relax, close your eyes, breathe in slow, breathe out slow. Just focus on the breath. Do this for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. You can put a timer on your mobile phone. This is really very good to make you feel relaxed.
Very good and very healthy, right? Very good and very healthy. We should do this every day, right? 5 or 10 minutes.
Absolutely. Now, how do you put positives in? See, weeds will grow anyway, but to grow a lawn, you have to put in some effort, right?
Right.
So to put positives in, there are two methods. One is join a laughter club. In India, this is very popular. A rollicking belly laughter does a lot for you. It's like rebooting your computer, when your computer doesn't start, you just reboot it, right? So laughter, after all, laughter is also breathing out. When you laugh, you're breathing out. Okay?
Right.
And so laughter clubs, I'm serious. Okay, join a laughter club. The second thing is learn about the power of the word. Okay, speak what you want as if it has already happened, offering thanks to God or to that force in the universe, whatever you believe in, or consciousness if you're scientific. Okay, but speak what you want as if it has happened. Write what you want as if it has happened, offering thanks, gratitude. Gratitude is very important. Means a lot. Okay, I remember writing, thank you God, I don't know how, but by your grace, with all these steps, Seshadri's fasting blood sugar is 120, and it would be like that. Nothing to lose, no side effects. So why don't you try it?
Think positive.
So I think we've sort of, had a fairly, good conversation covering a lot about.
Yes, this has been wonderful.
Diabetes.
This has been wonderful, and I thank you so much, Dr. HIRAMALINI SESHADRI from Singapore. It's late there, but she stayed up.
This is like a midnight feast or midnight talk. But then, if anyone who's watching this has been just diagnosed to have type 2 diabetes, don't worry, it's not the end of the world. You can beat it, but don't jump the gun and do things on your own. Okay? Whatever you found interesting, go ahead, Google it, do your own research, educate yourself, go back to your doctor, discuss it with him or her, okay? And then get onto a medical nutrition therapy plan. The government there also has one, okay? The American Diabetes Association, they have a National Diabetes Prevention Program, okay? that's also quite effective. Okay. So there's lots of good things happening there in the USA, and you can beat type 2 diabetes. So good luck to you. God bless. And Brenda, thank you so much.
You're
looking
welcome.
great.
You're welcome. And I just want to sum it up also. I want to give a summary also. So
Yes.
number one, in type 2 diabetes, addressing insulin resistance is the key.
Right.
The right diet and the micronutrients are the secret. Besides, you need to get the right weight, exercise, have a positive attitude, use meditation, prayer, join support groups, laughter clubs. If you do all of these, it is possible that you may need very little or no medicine. Number two, like the Physician Committee for Responsible Medicine, as well as Dr. Joel Furman Group, Dr. Harnish, and others. Dr. Seshadri experience also suggests that it is possible in many cases to reverse type 2 diabetes with the right steps. Number three, in type 2 diabetes, it's important to remember the Goldilocks principles. Blood sugar should not be too high or too low. Number four, the mnemonic God bless you and me that Dr. Seshadri made up is awesome. Help us remember the foods that we can help in type 2 diabetes. Yeah, God bless you and me. And so check out that list of the micronutrients with all the fancy names. You can Google it. In closing, I repeat what Dr. Seshadri said. If you have type 2 diabetes and you're watching this show, you want to change your diet and add micronutrients, food supplements, you must first check with your doctor. Don't jump the gun and just act on your own. On that note, good night, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Seshadri. Good night.
Good night.